Today I am going to be talking about what I would do if I could fix Scooby-Doo. I really don't like where they have been going with the original IP and adding all these shows onto it and depicting the characters in such an odd light. I think that Mystery Incorporated handled the show being a darker tone, but did not handle some of the characters and their personalities well. And as well as this, the Velma show is a disgrace to it. And with the news that there's going to be a live-action Scooby-Doo series, but it taking place in the modern world is a total miss on their end. So today, I am going to fix Scooby-Doo. This is what I would do if I were making the show. Okay, so we're going to start with some background first. This version will take place in 1964, a couple months after the Vietnam draft starts. It's going to follow what I believe is a more realistic circumstance for the group, and then devolve into them being mystery solvers. The beginning of the series, the first 3 or 4 episodes, will explain what's going on and how they got there and why they're doing the things that they're doing, and I think that'll add a good base to then give them later character development within the series. So we're going to talk about Daphne. She's still going to be gorgeous, and in the beginning she will be just a girl because that's how it was in the original one. She is going to be ditzy and love fashion and be easily excitable. She's going to love the pop music and the girl bands. That's her thing. She's a girl's girl, I think, is how she's going to start, but she doesn't have much substance to her. And in the beginning of the show, she's going to realize that. She's going to realize that she doesn't have much to her, and that she's just following in line with what her family wants. She will have 5 older sisters and be a daddy's girl, if you will. She will come from an upper-class, wealthy background, and she's starting to realize that what she views success and happiness is not what her family does. She doesn't want to go and get married because that's what's right. She wants to go and live life. Yeah, I think that's it for Daphne. Let's move on. A quick side note that I would like to add is Daphne's color palette. She is going to be the brightest one out of all of them and have lots of green and purple tones, and sport a lot of the popular 1960s patterns in clothing. Like Daphne, Fred's background is going to have family standards be a trait in his background. Freddie is going to be just like his father when he was young. He's going to be that perfect blonde poster boy with perfect hair. He's going to be on the football team and the wrestling team, and he's going to be great academically, and all the girls love him. He's a real catch, as his parents would put it. I think that having him be very multi-talented would work well with Fred's personality. Having him be good with mechanics and electric and plumbing and carpentry, having him do all those traditionally masculine tasks and being good at them is something that would bode well with his personality. As well as this, I believe that in this series, his family will have a background of traveling a lot. So that will give him the background to be able to be good at directions and maps and stuff like that. Instead of the Mystery Machine being a mid-60s G-body panel van, I believe that it would make more sense for it to be a 1962 Volkswagen Type 2, the one with the 23 windows, the bus, because it would be a little bit more plausible. In this version, Fred's family enjoys traveling the country and drives cross-country quite a bit during the summer. And I think that that's where the van comes from, because some young person, 20-something, just out of high school, is not going to be able to afford a brand new, well-taken-care-of bus. So I think that's the more reasonable way for them to have it. Yes, I'm going to reference fashion again. At the beginning of the series, I'm going to have Freddie dress in a very proper clothing, respectable straight clothing, and have him look very proper and put together. But throughout the series, I want his fashion sense to devolve and become more of something that is his own. See him wearing jeans rather than a straight pant, or wearing just a t-shirt rather than a sweater on top of it to make him look more presentable. We are now going to move on to my personal favorite characters, Shaggy and Scooby. We're going to talk about Scooby first. So there are sniffer dogs and police dogs and canine units, and I believe that Scooby was one of them, but he was a dropout because he was not well behaved enough. He did not have the right mannerisms. He made it through the training, but he wasn't good for it. So the company that trained him just got rid of him, so Shaggy got him for cheap. In this version, he will not be able to talk, but like a normal dog, he will be excessively expressive and goofy and have a personality, just like how like real people have personalities for their own pets. I think that every now and then Shaggy will talk for him and give him a little voice, and that's where you get the fun voice from, but really he will be expressive on his own. Okay, now we're gonna move on to Shaggy. In this version, he is going to come from a single-parent household with a lower income. He's going to live in like a trailer park. And naturally, because in the original, it's mentioned possibly that he's a stoner, but that would be confirmed, and it would be obligatorily obvious. It'll be in your face because this is a mature thing. I think that in the beginning, like backstory before the show starts, he is a weed dealer. He doesn't have many friends. He's quiet. He's not the best at passing all his classes, but when you get to know him, he's funny. In the past two versions of the shows, the 2002 version and the 2013 version, they have Shaggy being a film buff, and I really like that idea, and I would like to run with it. I think that his mother set him up with a therapist, and she didn't like the way he behaved, not knowing that he was on weed or something. And his therapist just realized, or like it was revealed to him, that he's scared of everything. He has a tendency to run away from his problems and not face them and not deal with them. So she is wanting him to do exposure therapy. So he stopped going to her, but he did continue the exposure therapy and found a love for horror movies in this. So he's a film buff from that. Something else that was portrayed in past series was that he is a ladies' man, which is kind of hard to believe knowing Shaggy's personality. I think that anytime a girl does like him, he says something more so accidentally rather than intentionally. I think that, like the rest of his problems, he runs away from girls if he realizes that they like him, but he pretends to be oblivious. He keeps to himself in school, but when he's home and when he's around people he likes, he's happy and a very outgoing guy. Velma is going to be depicted more so as what a real nerd is. I think that her representation should be more realistic of what a nerd is. She's gonna have favorite series, and she's gonna love Sherlock Holmes and Judy Blume and Stephen King, and she's gonna love reading. She's gonna have a couple classes that she's absolutely great at, and she's gonna be generally smart. She's gonna be book smart, not street smart though. She's gonna be awkward and have a bit of a stutter. She'll have a hard time getting her thoughts out. And she's gonna be dorky and a realistic nerd. She's not going to be mean to everybody. I think that her friendship will be closest with Shaggy, because he's the only one who hasn't really judged her. The two of them kind of balance each other out as she helped him get through high school, and he helped her take breaks and be able to get away from it all. Velma's color palette is going to be very dark. It's going to be a lot of brown tones and reds, and I think that these tones will reflect the way that she looks. Or not the way that she looks. The tones in the beginning of the series, like her costume design, will reflect her personality and how closed off she is and how much she doesn't want to express herself and how she is afraid to show her true colors, if you will. Okay, let's get into their reasons for leaving, which I think will be most important within the first couple of episodes. So firstly, we're going to talk about Fred. He, as you know, he's a poster boy. He's following in his father's footsteps and is going to the school that his father is an alumni from. He's getting ready for his life. And when the draft happened, his parents pushed him towards signing up instead of waiting, because that's what a good, respectable man would do. He will make it all the way through boot camp, so in the first episode or so, he will not be present. But he will get to visit home one last time before he is sent overseas. And at that point, when he gets home, he will snap. He steals his family's van and runs away. And he cracks under the pressure of trying to be the perfect son and meet his family's expectations. He is revealed to be scared and that he doesn't want to go to war. Despite what everybody's telling him, he doesn't want any of it. And I think that's like his first time ever having his own sort of rebellion and self-expression. As an A-line type person, he does everything the way it should be, but this is something that he shouldn't be doing. This is rebellion for him. Like Freddy, Shaggy is also running away from the draft. Except he didn't sign up, he was drafted, and he just wasn't for it. He was scared. He's a scared guy, he's scared of everything, and he rightfully chose to run away. Continuing with running away, Daphne also did. From the pressure of her family, she didn't want to be like her sisters. She didn't want to follow in their footsteps, and she didn't want to be a basic girl. She wanted to experience life in the way that she wanted, and she wanted to have her own experiences. She wanted to see things in her own way and see the world rather than immediately being caged into marriage. And lastly, I'm going to talk about Velma. She will openly be queer. I think that that's the first thing that should be noted. And where she lives, she was kicked out. Her family didn't like it, and they were against the idea of her having a girlfriend, even though she tried to keep it a secret. If it weren't for this happening, everything would have been perfect. She was going to go to college early because she graduated a year early. She was smart. She had everything, all her ducks in a line. But this basically made her whole world come crashing down. And she didn't get to experience this. So with nothing left to lose, nowhere to go, Shaggy invited her to come with. Because then at least she'd be with people who cared about her and that she wouldn't be alone. So that's why she's with them. Okay, I am going to take a break from talking about the main group and talk about some side characters that I think would be good for reoccurring. I think her girlfriend from high school, first referenced in the 2013 version of Scooby-Doo, I think would be a good first edition of a side character. Marcy Fletch. I think that she was bullied in high school, and all the mean girls called her Hot Dog Water, so that original nickname is still there, but it has a different meaning now. So I think she would be the first, and she is the one who's left behind. Velma leaves her, and she's left devastated, so one of the subplots will be her trying to reconnect with Velma throughout the series. Another group that I think would be great to have in the series is the Hex Girls. Having them be a more alternative band, but still speaking out and participating in counterculture, and having this band run into the group, I think would be a really fun plot arc. They run into this band of girls, and they're just trying to get by. So they end up going to a couple concerts, and they get involved with whatever drama they have. But as well as the Hex Girls, I think that JJ Hakamoto, their manager, would be an interesting thing. I think that the boys could get into some fights with him, and there could be a bit of strife in how he manages the band. But as well as this, he is a film director, and I think that that would be a subplot for him and Shaggy to talk about. Another group that I don't know much about, but I think would be nice to include is the Boo Brothers. I think that I need to educate myself more on them, but I think that that would be another little mini arc or a couple episodes to just have them interacting with other people. Like the movies, how they have met celebrities, and there was a Supernatural special, and they met Batman and they met Kiss. I think that referencing celebrities from that era and that time would be an interesting little thing. They run into them during their travels, at the gas station or something, just small little cameos or something. I think that would be interesting for background characters. Aside from that, I don't really think there would be much difference in the cast, unless it's the people they're dealing with for their mystery. Okay, what we've all been waiting for, the actual mysteries. So the first ever mystery that they solve will be the first motel that they stay at. They're driving for about 2 days straight, and they've run out of food, and they need a shower, and they just need to go sleep in real beds. So they come across this messed up motel, and it's suspicious. Things are going missing, and the people are just not the most trustworthy. So them being nosy and having nothing better to do, they basically solve their little first mystery. And after that, Velma will nerd out. She will be excited about this. And because she loves that kind of horror things, she throws out there that she wants to go and look at other haunted places. So while they travel around, they'll stop at these little places and they'll solve the mysteries. The topics of the mysteries will vary quite a bit, I think. And here are the topics that I think all of the mysteries will cover in way, shape, or form, aside from just random spooky stuff. One mystery that they could solve is something that's going around and making sure every man in the town isn't physically able to go to war, and basically injuring them all. And one of the mysteries that they would solve is to find out what it is and what it actually is and the reason why. Another thing could be poisoning of a certain food brand because it's not good, politically, it uses bad ingredients and stuff that are harmful to people, and some hippies found out. So it'll have them interacting with a bunch of different social groups as well. Okay, let's talk character development. Firstly, we're going to talk about Shaggy. His character development is simply to not be afraid of anything. Or I guess everything. He will, at the end, or during the series, he will be able to pick and choose what he chooses to face. He will decide if he wants to deal with these scary monsters or if he just leaves. He will have better judgment, if you will. And as well as this, he will learn loyalty, because he didn't have many people that cared about him, and having this group with him will develop his trust in humanity. Next to him, we will have Velma. Her arc will be self-acceptance and being able to deal with the person that she is and being able to be okay with that. Knowing that she will be able to learn that she's not less of a person for being who she is, for her identity, and that's okay. And she will learn how to choose to be around the people who care about her and be able to be less affected by the people who are against her and do not have her best interest at heart. Daphne's development will be going from ditzy and empty-headed to giving herself experiences because she wants to and not because somebody else told her to. She will learn how to make clothes, and she will just teach herself how to be self-sufficient. Her development is her choice to make herself her own person and to do what she wants. And Fred is her last character. He will have the most character development. From the perfect straight A boy he is going to move towards more of a hippie type character. Throughout the series, I want there to be like very evident shown throughout the series of his hair getting longer, him not shaving all the time, and him being a little bit more scrappy, and him choosing to look the way that he wants. As well as this, he learns that he can still have responsibility and do things that he enjoys without needing approval from others. He's going to prove to himself that he can be worthy of being loved and being cared about. Freddy is going to learn that he doesn't need people to tell him what to do, and that he can do what he wants to. And I think that that will be the most important bit. Okay, let's get into the juicy stuff and what specifically makes this more adult and mature. First things first is the drugs. As Shaggy is a weed dealer, and they're going to be dealing with hippie communes and going to concerts and partaking in counterculture, I think that having the drugs like LSD and peyote and stuff like that would be an experience that would be appropriately displayed within the show, as it is geared towards a more mature audience. The next topic of maturity that I want to talk about is sexuality. You cannot tell me that a bunch of horny young people that are stuck in a van together are not going to be having orgies, especially with the Summer of Love happening later in the decade. I think that having them do that kind of stuff and partake in that part of hippie culture would be an interesting subplot. It wouldn't have to be in your face. It's just like, oh, by the way, that happened. As well as this, having the boys deal with the fact that they aren't going to war and having that internal conflict of should I have gone is something that I do believe is very adult and mature and hard to deal with. As well as the maturity, I think that having the lightheartedness of like the side jokes and stuff will be a good balance to it, so that it's still a fun show. I think that a lot of shows that want to take a dark twist nowadays, they don't make time for things to be lighthearted and fun. The original show was funny. It wasn't all doom and gloom, and I think that that part of the show should still be kept. And I think that that is a part of the charm. So I think that's something that should be held to. Another bit of the maturity for the show would be dealing with being on your own without having jobs, being on the run, having to take care of an animal and not having a vet and not being able to afford everything that you need. Showing the harsh realities of being a young person without resources, I think, is one of the most important things that would be shown within the show. Yeah. Okay, so that is my pitch for what I would do if I could make a new Scooby-Doo series. I think that it would work in both ways, whether it be live action or animated. But it would have a lot of detail to it. And I want it to have those historical references and pulls and reference the pop culture of the period rather than the show being forced to be modern, like most things are. I really hold Scooby-Doo near and dear to my heart, and seeing it devolve in such a way is really heartbreaking. So I hope that with this, at least, somebody else can see that maybe someday it'll get better. But yeah, this is my idea. I'm making this someday. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it.